Hello and welcome to another episode of Telecomando RC. So today I'm going to be talking about my setup and thoughts on the Tekno EB410.2. And to be honest, I'm going to start off with the following. If you've been thinking of getting one of these buggies, just get one. Really, they're awesome. They're amazing. Just go ahead and get one. Especially if you are the individual, you have been thinking of getting a buggy for the very first time. Say you just got into the hobby, or maybe you've been bashing for quite a while and you've been using some RTRs, and now you think it's high time that you get something that's a little higher end or more of a race oriented RC. This is the way to go. And to be honest, the Tekno build manuals are by far the best. They are the easiest to follow. Some manuals have some diagrams that make it look as if parts went in reverse order, and then you try to build them, and then you kind of have to figure out something goes before something else. Not with Tekno. Everything is very straightforward. So the kit, I love it. It's great. I am running a 13.5 Team Powers Actinium V3 motor. It actually runs pretty cool for the type of motor. I like it a lot. I did add the fan. Now, one of the things though that I did with the fan, as you can see, is I actually reversed the fan. So usually you put the fan to blow air toward the motor. I actually put the fan to blow air away from the motor. And the reason for that is the following. I actually made a hole in the body where the fan goes, so the air goes in there. The reason why is with these with buggies, unlike touring cars you have a lot of open space, air gets in there, so you blow fresh air into the body, into the motor all the time. And it works out. But with buggies, everything's enclosed. I mean, the only air that you're really gonna get in there is through these two holes in the front, which you can barely, oh, there we go. See, that gap in there and that gap in there. So that's the only air you're gonna get into. So if you have the fan pointed into the motor, yes, you can get fresh air in, but then that air's got to come out somewhere. So you're going to build pressure here, so there's only so much air this fan's going to be able to push inside. And the other thing too is the only way it's going to be able to push it out is through these holes in the front. Now you can make holes here in the rear, and that would alleviate that problem. I didn't want to make more holes. I actually found it easier to just leave this open so air can flow in, and just have this fan pull out all of the hot air. So instead of pushing, say, cool air into a hot chamber, just having a ton of air in there, I'm just having the fan pull the hot air out as the fresh air comes in through the front as the car is running. So that's setup number one, and I like it a lot, and it keeps everything nice and cool. So I don't have problems with this overheating. The other thing too is the stock oils for the differentials. That's a very good setup. Just go ahead and keep it. It's 30,000 in the center diff, which I think is perfect for carpet. If you want to go up to 40, you can try 40, but the stock 30,000 works great, and then front is 15. Rear I did 10, and this actually works out great. Now the pills that I have in the rear, I'm not sure if you can see them, they're in the middle high, and then back here middle low. The stock setup I believe is mid. I decided to go higher in the front and low in the back is to have a little more anti-squat, mainly because I'm running on carpet. That's the reason why. So I went with the maximum amount of anti-squat in the rear. Now the other thing too that you will see is I limited the rear travel, so my arms are flat, And the reason why is, before I did that, I had full droop. You know, I started off with full droop just to see what would happen, but I would traction roll. So that's why I went with the anti-squat, so that it kind of pushes up on the arms for acceleration. Because one of the things without the anti-squat, this car really loves to squat. So I did the anti-squat for that, and then I limited the travel on the arms, you know, the droop, because it would traction roll. Now I'll have another video explaining that. Now here for the front, those pills, I did go with the middle, so everything's in the middle. And then for the front ones, you cannot really see, but they're actually down and out. So I used the pills that are down and out. And the reason why I did that is to kick the front end less. And the other reason too is to give the arms a little more sweep. So as I'm on power, the arms will want to go down. That way I don't nosedive as much. So if I'm coming off a jump and I'm give a little bit of power, it won't nosedive as much. So as far as the suspension, that's where I recommend the pills to be for a starting point. Stock setup isn't bad, but I think this is a better setup for carpet. The other thing that helps when you're running carpet is don't crash. No, I'm kidding. So you can see a few little scuff marks. May have flown off a jump, 1 or 2 jumps. The other thing too is the shocks in the front. I actually have them all the way out on the bottom and all the way in at the top. And then the rear, I have them, it's the second, so if you start from the inside out, it's actually the second hole. And then over here, I have it in the inner hole for the rear. And that actually works out great. Now I did go with the 1.9 sway bar in the rear. They did not have the front at the time, but they had it, well, I have it now. So they didn't have it at the time when I was running it, but I got it afterwards. So that works out. I'm going to be swapping out the front. And that's going to be the modification I'm going to do before I run it. Now the shocks are the stock, I think 600 in the front. I forget what the rear is, but it's just the stock setup for the oil. One of the things that does happen though is when you're turning, one of the things that I notice is that the car, the rear inner tire, when you're taking a turn, really comes off the ground. I don't traction roll. I mean, it's very easy to control, but that tire really comes off the ground. So I really want to control it. So that's the reason why I'm going to be replacing this front sway bar. So right now, let's see, those are 4. So right now the stock sway bar, actually it's not even here. Stock sway bar is probably a 1.3, 1.4. I'm actually going to go with a 1.9. And the reason why is I really want that sway bar to stop the buggy from just rolling. And Tekno is very easy to follow. So if you look at these lines here, so imagine everything's a 1 and you're just looking at the decimals. So for example, this one here would be the 1.5. Everything's a 1, that's the 0.5. So that means this is 0.5 plus 0.1, that little tiny thing. So this is a 1.6. And then this one is 5 and 2, so that's 7.7. 5 and 3, 0.8. 4, 9. So this is the one that's going to be going in the front, and hopefully that, that should stop it from coming off that tire as much. But the car, the way it is with these Prism tires, so, I called them Prisms. They are, let's see, these are the Wedge Proline. yeah, they are prisms. So these prisms and the wedges, these grab very well. They're very grabby tires. And the nice thing is with the diff oil, you have a lot of traction in the front. So the front tires just grab onto the carpet and then just pull your car forward. So I do recommend these tires for the front. Now, if you want less traction, I mean, you could go with these pins, but something else that you can do is you can cut off some of these tabs. Maybe you can cut one, skip three, cut one, skip three. Or, I mean, just count these and see how you can divide them and cut some of them off. I mean, that's something you can do. I felt no need, the track conditions I was running. But that's pretty much it for the suspension oils. Then electronics, like I said, Team Power's motor. The ESC is actually an XR10 Pro. This is the Elite, G2 Elite, as you can see. And it's more than enough power, it's very responsive. And I keep talking about these Team Power's motors. They are very, very smooth. So when you go off throttle, just the ESC and the motor combination, you go off throttle and then you go back into throttle, say as you're starting to take the turn, coming out of the turn, and it's very, very smooth. It doesn't cog, doesn't jerk. I mean, it is just a really smooth system. So other than that, that's my basic setup. My recommendations for the rear wing, I just have that one spacer and that is it. But other than that, I'll just be swapping the sway bar, and then once our track reopens, I'll take it back out and see how it works out. Oh, this Savox servo, amazing. This is the SV1254MG. It's a lower profile. That's what I would recommend for this setup right here. Other than that, thank you very much for watching. Again, if you are a beginner or you're planning on getting into four-wheel drive buggy or just buggies in general, a little more competitive racing, just go ahead and get an EB410.2. It's worth getting. Other than that, please like, subscribe. If you have more experience with these buggies, please share your knowledge with us in the comments below. And I'll see you on the next one. Be good.